Welcome to the BSL YouTube channel. In the bottom right corner, the red Zerg, Dwonker! And in the top left corner, the blue Terran, Colcrom! Colcrom sending the SUV for a supply depot at the bottom of the ramp. Pretty normal. Welcome to the channel, by the way, to Colcrom. It's his first time on the channel. He's a Diamond 1 Terran player at the top of the Diamond 1 division. So let's hope he brings some entertaining Starcraft to the table here. His first time on the BSL. Let's see what he's got. But he should be an underdog against this guy, Dwonker, who's 3-0 so far on the BSL YouTube channel, as he goes 52-second hatch, 17 hatch. And these replays are randomly sent in, but he's been winning all of them so far. And I hear ZvT is actually his strongest matchup on the ladder with an over 60% win rate. So Colcrom's got his work cut out for him, but he's a veteran of the ladder. He grinds out games all the time. And these players are still pretty close in MMR, so we'll see. And I'd like to see some more variation from Dwonker. He's gone with that battering ram strategy of Roach Ravager to great success, beating Master Terran players previously, even. Doesn't want to overcommit. He kind of whittles down the expansions in the army of his opponent. Just trading, trying to be as cost efficient as possible. He's surprisingly cost efficient with that Roach Ravager. All keeping his opponent on their side of the map, keeping the damage there. He's flying an Overlord in here pretty early. He's going to be surprised, though, because Colcrom, he went for Marines first, not Reaper first. Double Queen now starting for Dwonker. And this Overlord is trying to get a look-ski into that natural expansion to see if the CC is down, and got punished by that Marine first build. So a little bit greedy from Dwonker. You see Colcrom's camera here. He's splitting a Marine to the north, trying to cover both angles. And I feel like Dwonker should have just moved his Overlord outside of that third base instead, and then get the scout off later. But he got greedy, and the Overlord is going down. Supply capping Dwonker. And no Overlord has been started yet. He takes a third base at a decent time, but not an exceptional time. But he's late on that Overlord. Now it starts up. Ling's also moving across the map, looking for revenge. But these are Lings that could have been drones. So Dwonker's falling behind in the worker count. He's 3 workers down, plus the Terran's also muling. Colcrom's spidey senses were tingling. He put a bunker on the low ground. Dwonker coming up now with these Lings. They're slow Lings. Trying to see if the worker line is exposed. One Ling goes down. They turn around. Dwonker was denied. So Colcrom's one step ahead once again. Now Dwonker jockeying for position. Ling speed has happened. 2 Zerglings go down from this bunker. The Lings are being split. The mules are being targeted down by the Marines. The Lings are running back, trying to get an SUV. Will they get it? Denied by the Hellion. Worker count is even now. I don't know if that was too great for Dwonker, even though he got 2 mules. That cost him about 5 drones worth of larva. And those Lings died as well. But regardless, Dwonker pulling ahead in the worker count. He's droning pretty hard. Putting a spine down because really, he doesn't have much vision. Going lair. His natural base is a little bit oversaturated. We'll see if he grabs those 2 gases to signify Roach Ravager play. He's got the Roach Warren. So most likely, yes. Although a defensive Roach Warren is theoretically plausible. These 2 extractors now coming down for Dwonker, confirming it will be for Ravagers. 2 Evos going down as well for further confirmation as Dwonker pulls ahead in the drone count here. That third base is beginning to be saturated. Meanwhile, back home for our Terran player. He has his third CC built. Turning into... Actually, it's not turning into anything. He's flying it down to that third base location. And it's going to be mech for our Terran player, so credit to him for trying something new that we haven't seen before on this channel. Most of these Terrans have been going bio, which is the meta. Dwonker actually has a chance to block this CC with some creep. Doesn't do it in time, though. That would have been a sick move. And he sent it up there for an eventual scout, but even then, Dwonker's really late with his scouting. Let's look at what he sees. He doesn't know much about the Terran's build, and this is like 5:45 into the game. He's like over 2 minutes late. Only now is he scouting that it's mech. And back home, he actually dropped 2 spores and a spire. Seeing that bunker on the low ground before, maybe he thought it was BC's, and he had to blind counter it. Or else risk losing the whole game right there at that BC timing. Not enough queens on the field also, forcing spores. Dwonker gets the scout off though, confirms it's mech, sees the army. What the hell is this going on? These roaches just wander into a planetary fortress with a tank behind it. Donating resources to his opponent. That was horrible. Must have been a bad micro. It seems like a sloppy start for Dwonker. As the Spire comes up now. We'll see if that was purely defensive just for BCs. Or if he wants to do something with it. Like Mutas or Broodlords eventually. Got a very sloppy start for Dwonker. He's getting his 1-1, he's getting his roach speed. Terran also a little bit ahead on his 1-1. 68 drones to 56 SCVs. But if we look at the units lost tab, so far it's been a shutout for the blue Terran. Dwonker keeping his roaches at his expansions. Let's look at what Colcrom's up to. He's expanding his centers of production, which is really good.
Additional supply depots required.
He got momentarily supply capped. He's okay now. I'd like to see a lot of siege tanks come out of these factories. Because on paper, mass siege tanks, if you're maxed out, they can beat a Roach Ravager army. Especially if you leapfrog them properly. Prevent them from being attacked while they're unsieged. As long as they're sieged, you'll have the advantage. Thors do decent, but not so great against Roach Ravager. They're a great unit, but Roach Ravager just trades too efficiently against them, in my opinion. So I'd like to see an emphasis on siege tanks from the Terran player. Dwonker sending overlords to his opponent's side of the map. He's gooping possible expansions. Now moving his Roach Ravager to the south side. These Hellions are coming down here where there's not much creep, hoping to get some workers in this mineral line. And they run right into these roaches. Boom! Shut down. And just like that, the gap has been closed and resources lost for Dwonker. Really good anticipation, anticipating that his fourth base would be the most likely one to be attacked, especially with that lack of creep around it. The middle of the map is decently creeped up. This Thor's coming out here to push back an Overlord. But I don't think the creep actually delayed this CC all that much. Roach is now coming to the north side. We're past the time when Dwonker used to push, or normally would push. So this is a more economic version of the Roach Ravager mid-game push. It's coming out about a minute later, but instead of about 66 drones and 3 bases, Dwonker is grabbing a 5th base even. His 4th base is decently saturated. Well, actually not that well, but at least he's got the gases. Couple spines out if the Hellions come back. So a much more economic version, 78 drones. But our Terran player is no slouch. He's got 77 SCVs, so there's some work to do for Dwonker. Comes in here. Starts attacking the command center. Starts attacking the turrets. There's a cancel on the command center. Some SCVs are going down. This is good for Dwonker. Doesn't want to commit up the ramp, though. There's a couple siege tanks back here. Dwonker's pushing up the ramp. But there's only 3 siege tanks into some Thors. It's costing him a lot of roaches, but he's getting into position to start biling these tanks down. Corrosive Biles even land on the Thors. Tanks go down, and Dwonker seems to be winning this fight. However, the Planetary Fortress is getting a lot of damage done, so is this tank. This tank is a Corporal. 8 kills. Dwonker gets out with the wounded Ravagers. And let's look at the units lost tab. 58k to 52k approximately. So it was somewhat supply inefficient for Dwonker. Slightly, but it's kind of working in line with his strategy. It's not too bad. He canceled the base. He's got his Overlords putting creep outside of the 4th base location of his opponent. And meanwhile, 3-3 is actually starting up for the Zerg player. So let's keep an eye on that. Because just now is the Terran finally getting their 2-2. And 3-3 has not been started for the Terran player yet. And this Overlord's coming even more forward to drop some creep, extra mobility, even for a retreat path possibly later. And Dwonker kills this CC over here. I didn't see a cancel sign on it. More SCVs going down. And now Dwonker has 80 drones to 65 SCVs. He's killed a lot of SCVs here. Kills the refinery. But Colcrom only had 2 tanks in position there. This tank is way back. The Thors were not in position or coming out of factories. So maybe that was a window that Dwonker could have exploited more. But he didn't want to overextend into a planetary. Was cautious. Some biles thrown at that command center, but not enough to actually threaten a kill. And in comes Dwonker on the other side now. He's poking and prodding. Some siege tanks were caught unsieged. Only now are these 2 siege tanks sieging. Hellions getting taken out. And Thors don't trade all that great against these roaches. Case in point. Especially when they stand in these corrosive vials. However, the Planetary Fortress is doing work on the roaches on the left side. Dwonker's trying to move a bit to the right, but this tank is getting big shots off. And that was an even-ish trade, in my opinion. Pretty good exchange for Dwonker considering. He's taking his 5th base, but let's not be fooled here. Critical damage has not been done to the Terran player yet. So credit to Colcrom for actually surviving here. This Thor is coming out to push away this Overlord dropping creep. Ravagers being morphed for our Zerg player. Colcrom's keeping up. He's back at 69 SCVs. This Thor, the AI was kind of chasing this Overlord. And now the roaches are moving out. And look at this, the Thor is getting caught out on the map. Even though it was microed back, it was too slow to get back in time. Dwonker's picked Terran units off in the middle of the map like that in no man's land before. He does it again. And look at this over here. He's coming up the ramp. Not a great angle for Dwonker. He does have 3-3, almost. 3 attack at least. But that was not a great exchange. There were too many siege tanks back there. 3 or 4 tanks that sieged up. Dwonker, he's going back in. He's trading against these Hellions. Tanks are sieging up. I don't know about this. Biles the siege tanks. But he only had 2 Ravagers left, not 3. So he could not kill off those 2 siege tanks. And especially when the repair comes down afterwards from the Terran player on those wounded tanks. It's not worth losing a couple more roaches to close the distance in that case. So that attack before did not work out too well for Dwonker, and I think the Terran is actually in a better position now. It's 5 base versus 5 base. And this 5th base is not very well saturated even then for the Zerg player. Colcrom, he's closing in that supply gap. It's 183 to 198 now. It's not a 50 supply difference anymore. Dwonker, he's rotating to the bottom. Some of these Thors are on the top side of the map. They were shooting an Overlord up there, I believe. And they're drawn out of position. This Planetary Fortress is taking corrosive biles. Some of the SUVs go down in the biles. Some are running away. Could not repair because of them. Hellions now being morphed. Biles going down on this siege tank. Hellions getting wrecked. These tanks are only coming in the fight now. These 3 Thors are way out of position. More roaches coming in. These tanks are being clumped together. Colcrom did not have time to set up optimally. He's a bit flustered. Biles being landed on the tanks, even more so now. These 3 Thors are left standing. They're doing work. And the roaches go down. The Ravagers are starting to go down now. And I don't know why he's microing those Thors back. Because those Thors could have wrecked those Ravagers even quicker. Colcrom on the back foot. 79 drones to 58 SCVs. A lot of worker damage has been done. Meanwhile, Dwonker, he's taking these bases on the bottom left. This base is still not well saturated. If there's any saving grace for Colcrom, it's that the saturation in these new bases is not there currently. Colcrom, he's trying to retake the south. Wants to hold the north. Creep tumors coming out onto the map. We'll see what Dwonker does. He rotates again to the bottom. These Thors are there, but these 4 tanks, they're not where they need to be. And these Hellions are getting caught out on the bottom of the map. That's the second time that's happened this game. These 4 tanks, not where they need to be in this fight. Only 1 tank is here, 2 tanks and a bunch of Thors. Wile's going down on the siege tanks. No planetaries there to help this time. Wile's going down again on the Thors and the siege tanks. Thors are not microing out of the vials. I feel like Colcrom is a bit flustered. Maybe he's given up now. He didn't even try to micro that. We saw some micro before from him, and Dwonker seems to have broken through. Exploiting the lack of mobility of a mech army. Poking in different sides constantly. Always remaxing. Sticking with that 3-3 approach. He said, screw the meta. Screw transitioning into melee upgrades and ultras. He just stuck with the range, stuck with the Ravagers, had faith in his game. Pulled out the victory here. And it was tough for the Terran player, always constantly responding, being put under pressure. I think he forgot these 4 tanks were sieged here. And didn't move them into this fight when necessary. And that was a backbreaker for the Terran player. So GG. Who can defeat Dwonker? We'll see next time on the BSL.